talk. That's what I do, right? I just talk. First, gonna do something energetically that is just this is all about kind of quieting. And I would like to be able to just sit in a quiet place. But I think more than that, we are learning how to be the quiet place. And that means less and less that the environment is available for that, because this is how we learn. This is how we learn to be the quiet place, is there being a distinct absence of environmental availability for quietness. So that's what I'm doing. There's just kind of the stilling, the dampening, despite the fact that I'm in a moving vehicle, surrounded by moving vehicles, engines, tire noise, air whooshing past. To let that all sort of be secondary, not excluded, just quieted. In a much bigger way, I feel like that's what's happening within me. I'm gonna have to sneeze. Talking about quiet, here I am. Excuse me. Thank you. I feel like that's what's happening within me. I feel like it's happening within many people, for many people, in many stages of life, and in all stages of life, in all parts of the world. It feels like there's this I'm almost hesitant to put a word on it, because there isn't one that really quite captures it, I guess. Hermiting, going inward. But externally it can look like, and this is the thing, it's like there's a detaching from the surface. And I just see this, almost like an egg or something that has this connective tissue, and it's pressed right up against the shell. And it's like that is pulling away, like we're pulling away from the shell, from the surface. It's no longer this trying to break through. It's pulling away from it. So it can look like detachment, disengagement, disinterest, apathy. None of these are negative words. But it is a moving away from the appearance, from the performance, from that which is appearance-based, which performance is. Moving away from the performed versions of everything. So internally it feels subdued. And I've experienced this kind of somewhat gradually, beginning 2 years ago, various points, the mind freaks the fuck out, right? At various points, the mind seems to notice that the emotions are not as showy. And we're not as driven to action as we once were. The emotions themselves are not as big. They don't appear as big as they did. Certainly there have been moments of intensity. And the pain itself, the hurt itself, can be both deep and, gosh, this is hard to describe, because I'm seeing how I have experienced pain that has depth to it, and I've experienced pain that has this showy appearance. The one that makes a big deal of itself, that is just, you know, it's visibly writhing, kind of this tantrum of pain. It's pain, but it's very obvious, it's very apparent, it's very surface, dramatic, maybe theatrical. I'm not judging any of that. I'm not saying any of that is wrong. I'm just noticing there are times when there's that experience of pain, and there are times when the experience of pain is this deeper, sort of subdued version that feels more open and flowing, and again, not exclusive to anything. It's not as though it is the only thing there, but everything else also feels really subtle. And so the pain can sometimes feel louder than everything else because of how quiet it seems to have become. There has been this stripping away of identity that has continued. And I'm aware of just how naked it feels, how truly naked it feels to exist without seemingly anything that I can point to as definition, anything that I can point to as mine, as, you know, this is me, this is exclusively mine, without any apparent content, to exist in the world and to seem not to feel anything in particular. That is a really vulnerable experience. That feels truly naked. To stand in the world in front of people and feel that there is nothing for me to show. I have nothing to show. There is nothing on me. There's nothing in my pockets. I don't even There's nothing for me to tell you, maybe not even my name, certainly not my history. It's just that it's the feeling of having nothing. Nothing to point to. Again, nothing to show, nothing to demonstrate. There's like there's no content. And yet, I am here. I am now. I am being. I am experiencing. But I have nothing to say. And so it feels like there's no personality. There really aren't any opinions. Sometimes things arise. Not very often, it seems. And it feels extremely vulnerable. Like, this is the way that I was sort of feeling it last night, was if I have no interest, and in this place, again, this hasn't been all the time, but it has been probably at least half the time, maybe more if I'm being honest, but the mind resists it more often than not, because it's afraid. It's afraid of this state of seeming emptiness. Where again it feels like to the mind's perception, because it can't see anything there, it feels like there's nothing. It feels like there's no life flowing through me. And yet I am, right? I haven't died. I am very much there. I'm very much aware of being. But it's so quiet. And so the mind is quick to say there's something wrong. There's something wrong. It's wrong that there's nothing there. It's not safe. It's a problem. It's bad. It means something bad. And it'll panic and it'll stir up fear and discomfort and misery, you know. And I can feel it grasping. That's where this kind of boredom sets in. It says, I'm bored with everything. Nothing is interesting. And, you know, to the mind, the way to escape this feeling, which it feels it must escape, is to stir something up, make something happen, make changes, change the environment, change the physical body environment, you know, change something, make change. And I can see that it's trying to get away from this feeling, this stillness that it perceives as stagnation, this emptiness that it perceives as void, I guess, of life, void of self. It's trying to get away from that desperately. And it moves through kind of stages of grief. Ultimately, it gets very angry. It tries to reason a way out. It tries to reason with me to give it a way out. It becomes despairing, and it cycles back through. It feels to the mind like the walls are closing in. Like it keeps looking for an exit. It's looking for a way out. Out of this feeling. Out of the feeling of stillness. The feeling of boredom, of stagnation. What it thinks of as death. If I stop moving, I'm dead, basically. difficulty, how it easily, again, projects this as a problem. And that projection is either external or internal. It kind of, again, the shame and the blame. It alternates. Sometimes it says it's the environment, and, I need to run. I need to completely change everything in my environment. Other times it says it's the internal environment, right? So there's a different kind of running to change everything in me, to change everything about the body, everything, do all of the meditation and the exercise, and probably take the medications or at least the supplements, and, change this feeling, get away from this feeling one way or another, because it's wrong. It's a problem. And I just see more clearly how that never solves this, right? It's chasing a high. And that high never lasts very long. And in fact, it has decreased in its duration. So much so that now it almost isn't there. It's, every time the mind presents me with some sort of suggested way to get this hit, this high, to make this change, to escape the feeling of boredom and stillness, I can play it through pretty immediately and see that's not going to do anything. The feeling will be right there. 3 seconds later, the feeling will be right there. You won't have gotten anywhere. So the compulsion to do the things is not very convincing. I wouldn't say that it isn't strong, it's just not convincing anymore. Whatever solution the mind comes up with to escape this feeling, I can very quickly see is not a solution. It's not going to change this. And in seeing that, then the mind, gets angrier, and gets more sad. So there's been a lot of anger and a lot of sadness. A lot of grieving, ultimately. And periodically, it likes to sort of bring up the last time that it felt that I was interesting. The last time that it felt a great sense of security in the identity that had been created. And of course, it wasn't perceived as an identity at the time. It was believed to be me. It was believed to be me. This is me. This is my true self. This is my most authentic self. And so it kind of, in this taunting, nostalgic way, says, remember when we were so confident, and we did all the things, we had all the energy and the motivation and the drive, and we were disciplined and rigorous, and we were interesting, and we were creative, and we were writing music and making art, and we were doing the meditation and the qigong and the tarot, and it was regular practice, and we never missed a day, and we were so insightful and secure, and we were interesting, we did more things, we saw more people. And if I really look at that, I can see all of those things. Now I have a cat hair in my eye, probably. All of those things enhanced my feeling of security because they were done to impress. They were done to impress. And even if I didn't have an audience that was, there applauding me, validating how impressive I was, I could tell myself, and I would tell myself that this was self-love. I would tell myself that this was self-acceptance. I would look at everything I was doing and say, look, I'm doing it. I'm so impressed with myself. And that was ego, loving ego, in the way that it knows how. But if I was really honest, I struggled in the moments that I wasn't doing something. If I wasn't doing something, I had to be thinking deep thoughts. You know, I had to be opening myself to receive the messages that I would be delivering for the benefit of the world, right? Doing some other important thing. My sitting very still was an important task. That was in service of others. That was valuable to others. That was impressive because of the service that it provided. And that's where all the confidence and all the security came from. And then I got sick. I got COVID. I got very sick. And all of the energy went away. All of the energy, all the drive, all the motivation, the energy to do the things left. And then, very shortly after that, I began a relationship. And in the absence of the energy and the motivation to keep performing, all of the activities of this identity, and a loss of interest as well. Truly, it was like things just started to collapse. A loss of interest in all of it. The music, the art, the meditation, all of it. Coinciding with the starting of this relationship and the triggering of basically everything that I have ever run from. All of the painful emotions, all of the painful thoughts, all of the deep, scary stuff that I had been running from forever. And that I was able to run from because I had the energy or the drugs before. Most of the time it was the drugs. For the brief period that it wasn't the drugs, it was the energy. I had the energy to run from it, and then that went away. And there was nothing. And then I was totally exposed, and totally exposed in front of another person. Uh-oh. Because I can see now how much easier it has been for me to run from myself while alone. I don't think this is necessarily true for everyone. I'm sure it's different for different people. Me, whether it's just something in me or me in this incarnation, I don't know. Whatever it is, it's very easy for me to run from myself unless I have a witness. If I have a witness, I can't lie. If someone else is watching me, and not watching me like they're gonna judge me, if someone else is witnessing, I can't lie. It starts to just, I can't do it. It's much easier for me to just sort of lie by omission, to distract myself, when I'm alone. So having a mirror, having a person watching and not judging, just witnessing, has drawn, I'm quite sure of it, all of this stuff to the surface. That in combination with the lack of energy, running out of energy, it's like every avenue for escape from the things in me that I was afraid of feeling and seeing, the thoughts and the feelings that I was afraid of witnessing. Every avenue of escape has closed. just been a shitload of that. Seeing and feeling all of the insecurities, the fears, the deepest, darkest, most despairing, anguishing, angry, violent, misanthropic thoughts and feelings. Nowhere to hide from them. Nowhere for them to hide from me. Oh, there are a couple of ducks in a puddle over there. That's cute. Anyway, as this has happened, things have gotten quieter. It's not all the time. Shit's loud often enough. I gotta wrap this up because I need to go inside. But things are quieting, and it feels again like, there's just this collapse. There's just been this slow and steady collapse. And periodically the mind tries to kind of reconstruct the identity, and it just collapses again. Every time it thinks it has hold of something that it can add to itself, it doesn't stick for very long. And it's back to ground zero, back to, no structure whatsoever, just standing here, exposed again, nothing to point to, nothing to show for itself, right? Just here. Not even an interest, not even a thought, not even an idea to contribute, not even an opinion to stand and stake a flag on. Just here. How frightening it finds that. How utterly vulnerable, exposed, naked, for me to stand here and have nothing to offer. Right? Again, not even an opinion, not even a thought, not even a strong feeling that I can show you. To just be here. And in the apparent absence of everything that it thinks should be there, and the absence of what it has called love. Because it's clear to me now that what the mind has called love is the big, showy, performative version that is bursting and overflowing. It's not quiet acceptance. It's not witness. It's not this carefree, just still yet breathing observation. It's not that. It's a big thing. It's a big deal. It's obvious, right? For love to be obvious. And in the absence of that, the apparent absence of that feeling, it says, if I cannot love, then surely I must be unlovable. If I am not loving, and it doesn't believe that it is, because it doesn't see this feeling. Again, there's like nothing to point to. If I am not loving, then I must be unlovable. If I am not interested, if I don't feel this draw, if I'm not feeling drawn by the world, anything in it, nothing seems to interest me, nothing seems to pull me, right? To catch me, pull me. If I am not interested, then surely I must not be interesting. I must be uninteresting. If I feel no passion, then surely no one must feel anything towards me. And it occurred to me that this boredom, I feel like this could change, this insight could change. But it suddenly appeared to me that there's a fear of boredom, not because of the experience, but because there is a fear that it might mean that I am boring. There is a fear of being boring, of being uninteresting, and pretty much therefore unlovable. So there's this detachment. There's a pulling in away from the surface. And when I'm clear in it, I can see that, again, the mind says you're disengaging from life, you're distancing yourself from life, and it calls it a closing. But what I can see is that which I have lost interest in and that which I am withdrawing from, and it's not even happening because of my own choice, it's just happening. That which I am disengaging from is the surface, is the appearance of things, is the performative version of things. There is just this drawing back from the surface that is happening. It's not something that I am actively doing. It's just happening. And I can feel it is a reinvestment of energy into the deeper place, into that which is real, that which is more subtle, that which is quiet, that which is not found on the surface, because the surface is loud. And so everything is becoming more quiet. And it can feel to the mind that there is no interest, and there is no curiosity, and there is no love, and there is no passion, and no life, essentially. That's how it appears to the mind, because, again, this is not a thing that has appearance. This is not a thing that performs or can point to even itself. It just is. But I can feel there is a deeper and unfamiliar yet kind of interest happening. I'm still here. I'm still interested in this process. Just because the loving is not the big showy fireworks version doesn't mean that there isn't loving. It's just not the performed love. It's not the appearance of love. And so this disengagement, this apparent withdrawing, this disinterest that seems to be with all of life. And sometimes when I have identified with the mind, it seems that it is so. And I believe that, and I feel the sadness and I feel the anger. But other times I can recognize I have lost interest in the appearance, in the performance, the performative version. And I am being drawn to let go of everything, including the feelings that I thought belonged to me, that I thought made me, me. The opinions, the thoughts. They're sort of just being taken. Not with force, they're just sort of disappearing. And it is the mind that is using force to try to hang on to them, but it's unsuccessful. It's unsuccessful. Anyway, I really got to get inside, so I guess I'm going to wrap this up. But the quieting, the dampening, the bubbling, that may be a part of this too. I don't know. The just sort of removal from, like being removed from not just the outside world and the engagement with it, but even the internal world and the way that it had been experienced. The way that emotions had been experienced. The way that, again, interest, even, and curiosity and opinion and preference and desire have been experienced. These big versions, these obvious versions, to feel like a removal from them that feels like a loss. And there's a tremendous amount of grief there. But I know that it's a deepening, and that the subtle realities of being and what truly arises authentically from being, the true form, the form that is not performed or forced or obvious or even can be pointed to. I know that that's arising. And in order for that to have the space to arise, this big version that has been taking up all the room has to go away. It has to be removed. It has to be turned all the way down. So that we can experience the true self, what it is to truly be the self, just the self, alone with the self. And from that place of aloneness, rediscover our integration and connection. Not connecting out here, but in here. And in order to connect in here, we have to be fully alone in here. No influence, no projection, no persona. Nothing that the mind has created to fill in this space that it thinks is empty. So, yeah. Let me know if you're also experiencing something like this. I do think it's a process, and we are in varying phases of it. But I see that it's happening. It's all happening. I love you. Thank you for being. Thank you for being. You've never needed to be anything or any way. Thank you for being. And you are loved. Take it easy.